Okay, so I'm back here working on the render code again. I took a break there and did some other stuff, trying to knock out some schoolwork and various things. Um, but I did get this face method all set up. So render face. Each one of these renders a different side. I figured out all the different pieces that go together for them. Each face was slightly different, so where I was thinking they might have all been the same but with slightly different rotations, it turns out they do use different values here, and then the UVs are slightly different. I'm assuming the UVs are pretty much rotated, and if I actually sat there and drew this all out on paper, I could figure out which direction each one of these faces was rotated in. But other than that, as far as I can tell, this does work. The results, however, from using it this way, are not as expected. This is what we've got. So essentially, we're rendering a ton of faces up and down, kind of for a cool effect. Might use this for a teleporter later. Who knows what I'll do with it, since it actually is resulting in something pretty hilarious. But if we go like this, it actually doesn't render properly, and it does render this way. So there is a lot more work I need to do. Luckily, I'm pretty sure I can fix this pretty quickly by just doing this. And I need to actually be using this instead of size. This is the part why the reason it's so big is I threw size in there and completely forgot what size meant again. Actually, you know what? Instead of doing it this way, let's chuck out all of that, and where this method is being called, we'll go ahead and just do this. That way we're not actually storing the size value. And then we can actually properly use size here. So we can actually render different various size of ropes if we want to later just by calling render rope. And it would all work. Let's go ahead and reload. And we'll see what we get. Closer. We're getting something here. As you can see, we are getting some kind of sides here. Something isn't working out as exactly as planned. And I want to say it's the top bottom render. So let's switch these to 2 and 3. Aha! We have ourselves a rope looking rod. Just gotta fix the textures on it. But it actually looks good. Also need to fix the animation on it. So how this is supposed to work is the rope needs to render, I want to say from the player's belt. If the grappling hook is held, it needs to be the hand. If it's not held, it needs to be the belt. And then I need to fix the positioning for it. So let's go pull myself in real quick here. So as you can tell, it's not positioning itself properly. That may be where that render offset was being used earlier. Of course, we're getting some alpha transparency here and a few other things. And bit more work to do, but should be able to fix it. So for starters, here's our start position. Our start position, I believe, is the player. Our end position is the hook. Actually, close that, go find our code real quick. See if we can get the positioning fixed. Yeah, so our end position is the hook, so that's where our rendered target is. And we just got to go ahead and look at the math here and figure out what messed up here. So we're getting our delta positioning, and then we're calculating our length. Then we're calculating some kind of thing called var7. Well, yeah, we're calculating our, we're basically doing some math here to get our rotation. I forget what it's exactly called, this variable. I use it in a few other places. But that looks good. This should actually be mathed up high. Yeah, because that's what that ends up being. Somebody hand-coded math up high in there, and there actually is a variable for it. So we're calculating this. This will give us radians, and then by doing this, it converts it back into degrees. and we store the degrees. Although we actually could do our stuff with radians, but not going to redo all that math. Calculator, so every time we go to render, for some reason, oh yeah, because we're calculating the difference between the last and the previous, that way we got a kind of alert function going on. This is actually pretty useful, because if you don't do this, then it looks really choppy. So you'll get, say if our position changed rapidly, then it would look pretty horrible. Luckily this particle doesn't move, so this code actually really is not needed. Even though it kind of looks like it moves, the main reason why is this is actually called every single tick, and only has a lifespan of 1 tick. So let's see, what else are we missing here? So here's our rotation code. We just call rope tessellator. I need to disable this. I don't know why that got enabled again. Did I fix our rope texture? I did not fix it, but oh no, it does. Look at that. We can see the rope. Let's actually drop down real quick. I wanna see this. Yes, that was what was breaking the rope renderer. So we got rid of that code, and now we actually have our proper stuff. Oh, here's our size variable. It keeps getting set, and there's our previous size. So let's go ahead and get rid of these. That's actually not where the size was being set from. So there actually is another spot that's probably storing that. But we're setting this in here. This all looks good. I do need to get rid of R12, but if I do that, then I'll have to restart Minecraft. And I don't think you guys want to watch me sit there for 5 minutes waiting for something to load. That renders... so yeah, we were working on the length. So there's something wrong with the length math. It probably has a little bit to do with the render offset for the length. I mean, it looks like it's just short by 1, so what we could literally do is do that. And that probably would fix it. So if we go pull ourselves in, which I gotta get the grappling hook. No, we're off by more than 1 there. The length is right, the position data is not. And you know what, something tells me, because you notice how when we're looking at this, the little block, which is the grappling hook, is 1 meter above where the rope is actually attached to. It's probably the entity that's actually not in the right spot. But the length looks good enough. Because what we're going to end up doing is, I'm using a particle class right now to render this. I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to pass to the render code the player's actual position, and then I'm going to figure out where this entity is, and I'm going to pass the entity position. That way, no matter what, the rope always renders to the correct spot. Even if the hook is not in the right spot, the renderer will actually fake out and make it look like it's appropriate. It will have some negative effects on the gameplay, but it doesn't matter as much. But this works. All this is rendering properly. The only thing we got to do now is I've got to reset this position here. So right now this is where it's starting at. The starting position does not need to be there. The starting position needs to be somewhere else. So let's think of how to do this. I've already got the math done for this to start with. So I just got to go find my movement handler. Here's our distance. Here's our pull direction. There's my dog yipping at the door closing. Okay, so we have ray trace code here. Here we go. This gets our aim point from the player. We then, somewhere up here, okay, here's what we're actually looking for. We're looking for hand rotation. That'll give us a pretty good spot to start with. So we need, okay, so we get player plus hand. Okay, this is the code we need. This all big section. and that'll give us our position for where the rope should start from. Let's go ahead and I want to store the players. Entity player. Yeah, since we're on the client, it's going to be that. So. Actually, let's go ahead and just put this down here. Because this check, so I actually found out on the client, there actually is 2 copies of the player. And earlier I was having issues where it was rendering 2 ropes. And it was entirely due to the fact I was not checking to see if it was the player. And there's some other object here, and I don't know if it's one of the mods doing it or what is going on, but there is some stuff happening to the code there that I'll have to check into here later. Actually, I can get rid of that line because we're no longer calling the movement handler. Okay, we got the player, we got everything here, so now all we need to do is, so we'll just call this start position. And we want to Control C, and we want to start replacing any spot with this, and that should get us our correct starting position, and the rope will render looking much nicer. And then when we get all this rendering stuff done, we can move back to playing with the physics, because I've got the physics turned off at this point for the player. The only thing it actually does is check for collisions. And if you notice, we have a slight discrepancy. This has a little bit to do with the fact that the render and the player's collision box are in the complete wrong spot from each other on the client. This is only on the client, by the way, and Minecraft's code is fudged to make everything look correct on the client. And I have no clue why they did this. But we just gotta minus some values here. Probably get rid of this here. Actually, I'll just set that to 0 so I know where that's at. We're closer, because if we have the grappling hook in our hand, no, I'm gonna do like -1. This is why my gun code doesn't line up either, is because there's a slight discrepancy between where stuff should be and where stuff actually is. That's pretty close though. Just a little bit more math corrections. Okay, I want to say that's the right level. Now we just need to, I'm going to say add 0.05 to each one of these. Nope, that did not work whatsoever. -5 would actually probably get us closer. It's really tricky when you're messing with this stuff because we're dealing with rotation code, and by us adding and removing here, we're actually fudging the rotation code slightly. Oh, that is really close. But you see how now it's rotating me instead of actually being where it should be? So there's some kind of discrepancy going on here. Okay, let's remove our numbers here. And I want to see if it at least rotates around me properly. Sorta. Okay, if we look like this, it's this is the tricky part with messing with the rotation code, is if your rotation code isn't right, then it's really hard to tell if the rest of your code's correct. I want to say, let's remove this and see just how much that messes it up. Okay, that's not right at all. Okay. So plus 90 degrees was getting us on the right track. Let's go ahead. I want to get on the ground here so I can get a little bit better bead of what's happening. Okay. So rotating around I mean, it's close. When you get to some of these other angles, it's a lot better. I mean, we could tell that it is rotating around me as the player. What we might have to do is just say it's going to be in the middle of the player no matter what, because of the fact how long it's going to take to fix this code. And there are other things to work on. But I think I have an ideal. We're going to -1 off of everything. Because 0.5 was getting us really close. And I think if I recall right, some of the models and stuff are off by this amount. No, that didn't work. Because now we're even further on this side. And we're not any closer on this side. Unless, what is this direction? So, that's alright, I can't move. But we are facing south, so that should be plus z. So let's take this z-func method here and remove it. Okay, that this is where I wish I could easily rotate the player. Actually, I could probably just keep adjusting the player's rotation. It gets sick after a while, though. Okay, so it's not that. So the negative x isn't working either. So remove the negative x. Okay, so when we are here, it is close. It could be a length problem. So if we go this way, it's one block on the other side of us. If we go over here, it is really close. So it's, if we go both of these sides, it's dead on. It's right here, it's a block off. So let's try adding 1 to the z. Actually, no, we'll do -1 because we're facing in the positive z direction. Ah, yes, look at that. It's working really good on the other direction. It's too far though. So maybe that's too far. 0.5. Okay, it's... As I said, render code is probably one of the hardest things to work on because of the slight discrepancies you'll have. And it's really hard to tell if your math is what's off or it's the render code that's off. I mean, the render code looks like it's functional, but then as we rotate, we're an entire meter off in the negative z direction. So let's go ahead and remove this. Technically, I can get rid of this whole entire vector here and just bring it back down here. Let's clean this up a little bit so it's easier to read. So this is essentially what we're looking at right now. So we've got the player's position, and then we're minusing by 1 to get the mid-level of where the player's body is. So these positions should be correct. Unless I need to modify, you know, I might have to adjust by the width of the character. That might be actually what's wrong. So we can actually do this player dot width divided by 2. See just how much that gets us messed up. Okay, so if we're here, so if we're facing directly this way, it's good. Facing this way, it's off. Facing this way, yeah, it's all off now. So, blarg. Let's try removing the X. Okay, so if we're in the Z, yeah, it's not working in the Z either now. Well, it works in that angle. We're off a meter on that side. We're off only by a little bit on this side. So what we're doing here, in order to get this to work, we're grabbing the rotation of the player's hand. Then we're converting it to an X and Z coordinate plane. Pretty much, think of the edge of a circle. That's pretty much what this does. This does a scale by 0.05, and we think we're off by a little bit here. So let's try 0.4. I wish I could figure out where the center of this circle is. So you notice if we rotate, it does follow a circle. And that circle is not the player. Well, actually, it kind of is, but at the same time, it's not. So, for here, there's the edge on that one. There's the edge on that side. There's the edge over here. Why does it get closer? So on the Z sides, it's closer to me. But then when you get on the, or no, what's on the X sides, it's exactly where I want it to be on each X. It's the Z. So it's over by a meter in that side. It's over by a meter on that side. But anytime we mess with the Z direction, it screws the whole thing up. I'm going to adjust this by even more. Reload. See if it gets even closer. Let's actually see if it's actually even anywhere close to where I kind of need it to be when you actually look at the visuals. See, the ideal is I want it to render from the player's hand to wherever it's supposed to go. And then I'm kind of realizing that might not work either. One, I kind of need to make the rope smaller because it's about the size of the player's arm. So let's drop the scale on the rope real quick. The smaller we make it, the more obvious this problem is going to show up as. So I want to say we're going to drop it to 0.2 because that's what its collision box is supposed to be. Because particles actually sort of have collision boxes. There we go, we got a rope. It is really badly off. Okay, so the player is about a meter wide. So yeah, half a meter should work. But it's not working. Because it doesn't seem to be the rotation code that's not working. Because I bet I could run this rotation code with a particle spawn of some kind. And we would see a particle dance around the player. Actually, that's a really good idea. So we'd go FX, shoot, smoke particle. Yeah, there we go, any smoke particle. Okay, world X, Y, Z, and then there's motion. So we don't want any motion, but we do want the X, Y, Z. So we want to copy this code over. And then we're going to do 0, 0, 0. And then we need a player.worldObject. And then we just need to spawn in the world. And that will show us theoretically where this should be at. Because of course the Minecraft smoke should work properly. Oh yeah, you see how the rope is exactly where that smoke particle is? You know what, there's a great way I can do this. I just gotta remember how to do this. I've done it a few times, and every time I need to do some kind of orbital path, I do this code. So for int I equals 0, I is less than, let's say 30, I plus plus. And then I need to copy this code. We need to actually bring it up to here so it's separated out. And then we want this to equal essentially the rotation. So it's 360 divided by 30 times I. And this should, if I've done my thought process right, show me an orbit around the player. So I guess I should probably make these F's then. What in the... You know, this explains why the ray traces aren't working. This is the same code I use for the ray traces. It's also is a great moment to take a screenshot. There's something wrong with this math. Something completely wrong with this math. Okay, y, z, z, x, x. That looks good. I mean, it is orbiting me. That's the cool part. It's just, for some reason, we're getting an oval instead of a... what we're supposed to get. I need to Google something. Point on a circle using rotation. Anytime you ever have a problem as a programmer, Google is your friend. Somebody else has clearly had issues, and somebody has a solution. Okay, if you know your center point is CX and you want to create a rotation counterclockwise around the point by angle of Z, you would shift the center to the origin and the rest of the point of the plane with it. Then rotate, then shift back. So we want to do cosine times it should just be cosine minus sine. So our x point and then sine plus, what are we using right now? Cosine minus sine. Let's remove the rotate, let's remove this, whatever this is, and we're going to reload. Why, you look at that. That's a perfect circle. One of those times 5s was messed up. Okay, so, okay, one, we need to fix this. Float r equals, actually it's going to be double r. Okay, and this will be cos r. I'll actually be happy if I do fix my my ray trace code, because it's been problematic for a while now. I mean, hasn't been like a serious problem, but it's been enough of an issue where sniper rifles for my ray trace stuff won't be possible until I fix it. But if this was the issue where it was just a simple blunder of fat fingering something, which is probably what this is, because if we actually look at this code here, or actually look at this equation, it's cos minus sine, and we have cos minus sine. And then we have sine minus cos, and then there's sine minus or sine plus cos, I think is what that one was, yeah. And yeah, we get the right, yeah, that looks good. We'll go ahead and close that. So if I rerun that, I should get the same result. We get a ball of smoke. Cool. And then what I want to do is we then need to copy this down. And then what I need to do is I need to times this by my scalar factor, which is 0.5. And that should give me the result I want. You see how it's now rotating perfectly where it needs? Now I just gotta adjust it. Oh, that is a good rotation. Also, the ball of smoke going around me kind of looks pretty badass. Add some fire with that. Give myself an enchanted crown. Look like a bad guy from a horror movie. But we can get rid of the ball of smoke now because we don't need it. So, yeah, this is wrap to angle. And we go to R. So actually, we put some finals here. You put final in front of data that you know you're not going to change because I think it'll trick Java into inlining it, which inlining would be instead of calculating this here, it'll put it down here. Actually, it probably wouldn't do that, but it might inline this part, but it might not inline this one because it technically is recycled so many times. We'll go ahead and reload that, get rid of the ball of smoke, and now we just got to reposition it so it's sitting on my hand. And then we need to add a boolean real quick. So boolean is held equals true. And then we'll go if is held, because if it's not held, we want it to come from the belt, as I said earlier. Then if it is something different, it's just a little bit different math is what all this ends up being. So we got our values here, and we want to shift up by, I want to say 0.2. So we want to take this to about 0.8. Yep, that's right. And then we want to bring it back, and both axes is about 0.2 to 0.3. By the way, these number guesses are just from me doing this for a very long time. There's no exact formula to it. Actually, there probably is, but it's based on just a good guess of distance, and I went the wrong direction on this. But you work on models enough, and you rotate them, and you adjust them, and you move them and stuff, and you get used to kind of what distances to expect. And we're not getting exactly. I need to force the player to be facing. Player dot rotation yaw. Why am I doing rotation yaw offset? Rotation yaw. Where am I getting this from? It feels like I can access it here, but when I went to go access it there, it's like, hey, that method doesn't exist. We want that to be 0. And what that should do is it should lock my play. It doesn't lock the head though, but it locks the body rotation, so I can actually do all my math based on the body without any rotation. Anytime you are working on things, try to do all of your math first at the 0 point. Then you need to check your math in every other direction to make sure it's working. Because if it's not working properly, then you need to make adjustments. And if you're trying to make adjustments in the wrong rotation, then you're going to do what I just did, and it's not going to work. Okay, that is almost perfectly. The only thing we don't have handling for is, you notice how the hand shifts around. There's probably a method for that. This is where I also want to kind of render. I want to start doing the rendering from the item itself, because the item classes, see the items shifting back and forth with the hand. Any hand movement or gesture I will automatically get thanks to the hand render. But that's good. Now we need to do the belt real quick. So we want to set this to false. And we want to copy this. And we want to make our adjustment so that way it's rendered for the belt. And I fat fingered the false So I get for trying to type with only a couple fingers while I'm sitting here kind of trying to get something to drink. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So that'll get us a really good head start on all the code, and then all I have to do is wait for Morton to finish the grapple hook model. When he finishes the model, I will implement it, and then there's a class file I already have set up. So this class file is already set up for getting ready to do it. I had to render it on the ground, equipped, and then equipped first person. So there will be two renders. Equipped is when you see it either in third person yourself, or you see somebody else holding it. So I have to do handling for other people holding it. This is where a lot of server-side testing is going to come into play. And then equipped first person is when you're in first person. You notice how the rope is not rendering anywhere close. You're going to have to render it a different spot. So the reality is I'm doing all this math, and I'm mainly just doing it for practice because I'm going to have to go redo it anyways. Okay, so we want to render it on my belt at this point. And if we go like that, reality is I probably don't need any of this hand rotation code. Yeah, we don't need any of this stuff. So the way we can do this is we just move this down. And we just leave all this to 0. Except for that part. I want the Y value to be set correctly. Yeah, and there are going to be jokes for days about the fact that this is probably coming out right, well, it's above the waistline. I'm good. I might add a rope render, or I might add an extended render to this. Yeah, what we'll do here later is I'll add a player render that makes the player look like he's wearing some kind of satchel, some kind of waistband that would hold the rope itself. And then the model would more or less be your projectile system to launch the grappling hook. And when it's in your hand and you have it launched, it will show a little rope rendering from the belt to the grappling hook. That way it looks a little better. And we're not rendering anywhere close to that grappling hook spot now anymore. I wonder if that's anyways, let's go ahead and code the code to tell if it's in the player's hand. I'm actually going to shut down Minecraft for this part because I already have the code and I just want to go ahead and duplicate it. And I need to go fix my ray trace code while I'm at it. So let's go copy this. First thing first, I need to fix the ray trace in the armory mod because it's important and I will forget if I don't do it. I don't think the ray trace is actually in this class file, but I think it's in the gun instance. So yeah, do ray trace, and here we go. Right there it is. Fix it, and this is actually handled via. Let me undo real quick. Yeah, it's the same code. It's just instead of calling the render offset, it just uses yaw. The reason why this code is different is eventually the player won't be the only thing they'll be able to shoot guns. You'll be able to shoot it from just about anything that can call the method up here, which is do fire with yaw and pitch, and then it'll fire a round out at the proper location. So that could be a sentry gun, that could be a tank, a cart, a trap. There'll be tons of things that'll be able to use this code. So handling it that way actually pays off. But I need to do, okay, where's the hand position? Okay, hand. So yeah, I do need to do a, whoa, what was that noise? Oh, that is a cat. You doing okay, cat? I don't, yeah. Cat's having a hairball. It's actually not even my cat, it's my brother's cat. You okay, cat? Okay, cat's okay. Looking all pissed off at me, though. For some reason, this cat likes to hang out outside my door. It does not like to hang out inside the room, but will sit outside the door. Anyways, that's updated. We'll have to test this later. Actually, we can test this right as soon as we load back up Minecraft. How many minutes are we at in this video? We are at 39, about the same time as last video. I don't know if these videos are going to be about the same time every time. Most likely not. And I'm shooting for no time frame because YouTube changed their system. So it used to be you got bonus points for having a 15-minute video. Now it's the longer your video, the better. So at this point, I just kind of gave up on trying to figure out what YouTube wanted, even though I was never really spending a huge amount of time doing that to start with. It has hit the point where it legitimately doesn't matter anymore. So we need to times this by 0.05. So I think I could time it by 0.05 here, and I don't have any issues. I think what happened last time is that instead of timesing the whole function by 0.05, it was timesing like just one of the interior functions, like it was timesing cos or something, and we were ending up with an oval. And if I actually do the research, there's probably is something telling that exactly how this works and why I got the results I got, but I don't have the time for that today. But this movement code, or yeah, the movement code for the ray tracing is fixed now, and this should actually fix. Actually, is the get aim messed up too? I don't think, because actually the handhold position shouldn't modify the ray trace whatsoever. The ray trace missing is actually done by this part. This is the aim. This is what tells the code where I'm pointing towards, and then what happens is the start position it's the player's hand, but the end position is that aim. So if you see the aim right here, times my grappling reach plus my start position. So we go from the start point and then we extend out from the aim. So if the aim is off, then the rest of the code is going to be off. So I may have to rebuild this function because this function is based off of Minecraft's code, and unfortunately Minecraft's code likes to be finicky every so often. I'll have to work on this. But at least the handhold position is fixed, so now you can't poke your hand through something, and at least you aren't ray tracing from the wrong spot. So if you're like really close to a wall, but your hand wasn't, now it won't break. Same for the guns. It won't actually fix the ray trace. I don't know why my brain was insisting that would be the case. But what else was I gonna do here? Oh yeah, I have code to check if the player has a hook held in his hand or is in his inventory. So we're gonna make this method here, public boolean, and we want to do check for hook, and then we want to pass an entity player, and then boolean is held. So, and then what the is held part would be is if is held is false, that means we're not checking, we're just simply checking if it's on the hotbar. And then the alternative would be player dot, you know, I'm actually stupid. We're going to do this whole, we don't need this whole method. I can literally go player dot get held item. So right, back out to my render code here. Okay, that's the hope, that's the movement handler. We'll mess with the movement handler in the next time I do this. But as soon as I'm done with the render code, this will be the end of the video. That way I can go work on some other code here. Not related to Minecraft, I actually have a couple class projects to work on. I'm learning C, and the most frustrating thing ever is I'm trying to do things I do in Java and they just don't work properly in C. But here we go, client render, and is held would be event dot, that would be player dot inventory dot current item, or get current item, doesn't equal null, and so you want to check to make sure it's not null because it could actually be nothing in the player's inventory. And then get item equals grappling hook dot item hook, and that should give us what the code we're looking for. And then we run the game again, which I'm going to go ahead and launch and then test this all out, but I'm going to end the video here, and then I'll show you guys the progress and work next time I do stuff, which will probably be tomorrow, but I don't know. It could be anytime, so see ya.